And we're live. Welcome back to the LOOPcast. It's Tom, Erica, and Josh. The LOOPcast brought to you by Zeal. So glad to be with you all today on this wonderful Friday. We have a great show prepared for you. Up top, no meat today. All right. Maybe you at breakfast, you're like, sausage, maybe that kind of happens. Nope, no meat today. Say lunch, like, I'll just get Chipotle chicken. No meat today. Don't forget, you have no excuse if you're listening to this on a Friday. I hope you have a sick Lenten fish fry. I do love a good fish fry.
I'm going tonight.
Okay, awesome.
Oh,
nothing better. If people say Catholics don't have culture, man. Fish fry. Have you ever been to a Rager fish fry? Clearly not.
To ask is to answer.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we got a great Friday show today. Prince Andrew arrested, and that was one of those things that breaks out.
Formerly.
It's the formerly Prince Andrew, stripped of title. Many in America are jealous suddenly of the UK's ability to bring justice to their own. Maybe we could get a little bad over there. But yeah, really interesting that broke out into more mainstream. It kind of highlights this fixation that Americans have on royals and my personal fixation on Epstein. So we're going to be covering that. The second will be
it all comes together.
Unnaturally.
Trump's Board of Peace met for the first time yesterday. Really interesting atmosphere. We get some word on pledges towards rebuilding the Middle East. Some are saying that Ron Paul called it in the early 2000s, but I have all the coverage there. It's going to be very interesting. And then finally, the SSPX has announced that they will be moving forward with the consecration of bishops. A big move, a rebuke of their meeting with Rome. So we got all the context there. But of course, we have good news. We have Twilight Zone. Our ladies, our ice ladies beat Canada. I mean, I can never get enough of beating Canada and stuff that.
Oh, Tom's gone.
The best part about beating Canada is we beat them in something that's like kind of secondary to us. Like,
exactly.
What? Hockey? Sure. Yeah, I mean, hockey's fine, but. You know.
All right, reorganized for the show. Let's lock and load. Erica, you have our royal watch here.
I do.
Former Prince Andrew arrested. What was going on there?
Andrew. So yes, the first royal, little historic. I'm trying to get Josh interested in this, and the
Please
only way
do.
I could possibly do that is by pointing out this is the first time a member of the royal family has been arrested in the United Kingdom in 400 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure you qualify that.
Yeah. The last one was Charles I, and those history buffs out there know that did not end well for said Charles.
Yeah,
but it's true. Former Prince Andrew.
That was back when we used to be a proper West.
That's right. That's right.
I was actually part of England at the time, my family. So, you know.
All right.
Oh, very nice.
Josh is interested.
Were you Roundheads or were you anyway? Okay, we're going back to this. He was arrested by the Thames Valley Police on suspicion of misconduct in public office. This is the most serious legal escalation yet in the Epstein saga British chapter. We're calling this the British chapter. We had an arrest in the Norwegian chapter a few days ago. We had an arrest in 2020 of the model procurement guy in France who subsequently killed himself. And now we have an arrest in England of the former prince. So they detained him at his residence at Sandringham. He was questioned for several hours and then released under investigation. The focus of the probe, when one thinks of Prince Andrew and his dalliance with the Epstein world, one thinks perhaps of underage women and, allegations of sexual misconduct. That's not what this arrest was about.
But also, wasn't his name like the Playboy Prince? Like this was kind of
Yeah, he was, no flattering caricatures of Andrew exist. So let's just put it that way. So continue. So this arrest, the charges appear to be, they haven't been officially released yet, but based on what we know, triangulating the Epstein files, the question is whether during his time in public office, he also was in public office as a special trade envoy. Between 2001 and 2011, he passed confidential diplomatic and commercial briefings to Jeffrey Epstein. And in fact, we have documentation of he would get information from his confidential knowledge as a trade envoy, and he would hours later just forward all the emails to Epstein. There wasn't even an attempt at being sneaky. There was no James Bond cosplaying here. He just forwarded emails. Newly unsealed U.S. Justice Department documents include those emails. No formal charges filed as of this recording, but this is pretty serious under UK law. It's essentially he betrayed the royal family, betrayed his mother with her travel plans, sending them over to and it was not pretty. This is not good. And I think Andrew knows it. We have a photo of him leaving the interrogation.
Brutal picture of
my gosh. I mean,
This is
that's
brutal.
that's what I look like at like 3 a.m. when the baby wakes up to nurse for the 4th time that night.
That's Josh's
just
face when he hears we're talking about Epstein again.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, give me a break.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. I mean, you laugh or you cry, right?
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. So a little more background on Andrew for those of you like Josh who perhaps haven't been paying attention. There were allegations that he'd been meeting with a Virginia Giuffre, who sadly later on went on to commit suicide, but she published a memoir. She's one of the Epstein victims to go public. None of her allegations were ever followed up with in court. She was deemed an unreliable witness. But her stories are so awful.
Have you seen the BBC interview that he did?
Yes, I watched the BBC interview
Truly the
again.
most unbelievable interview I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a more colossal, guilty-looking, like total mess-up interview than that, the 2019 BBC interview. If you want to watch, like, you'll see what everyone was like. All right, dog. Like, we kind of know. It was almost like people didn't suspect him as much until he did that interview.
Exactly.
And they're like, there's something crazy going on here. Yeah.
Yeah, not a great character. And it's been ongoing, sort of this gradual series of distancing of him from the rest of the royal family, including, of course, the famous stripping of his titles on October 30th of last year. His brother, King Charles III, 2 kings down from the one who was beheaded, King Charles III issued a statement, and he called simply for the law to take its course. Perhaps most shocking in the king's statement was the fact that he didn't even acknowledge that Andrew was his brother or that had been a formal royal. So a couple of things. He said he learned with deepest concern, quote, the news about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and suspicion of misconduct in public office. What now follows is the full, fair, and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities. In this, as I have said before, they have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. He continued, let me state clearly, the law must take its course. Meanwhile, my family and I will continue in our duty and service to you all. And he's not going to comment further at this time.
So what was the specific law that the former Prince Andrew was alleged to, apparently violated? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Financial crimes.
Financial.
Yeah. Yep.
Financial crimes, but specifically the passing on of confidential commercial briefings, which are like financial briefings that he received as a trade envoy, and he passes them on to Jeffrey Epstein.
Him and Mandelson, because Mandelson also in one of the releases told Jeffrey Epstein they were going to bail out the banks before they did, and to get on a phone call.
So no crime with this Virginia.
Nothing mentioned about women.
They did have a civil suit, and he did pay, I think, $10 million.
He settled it.
But part of the settlement was that he denied liability. So it wasn't a criminal suit, but what's her name? Who was the lady that broke all this in the Miami Herald? Julie K. Brown.
Julie K. Brown.
Julie K. Brown was kind of broke the dam on a lot of this because she went and she talked to a lot of the victims, and a lot of the victims, of course, were scared into silence in various ways. They saw what happened to Virginia. And you could say what you want about her as a reliable witness. There's plenty pointing to the fact that she was harassed and intimidated and scared into potentially taking her own life. And so that was the new precedent for anyone that wanted to speak up for their abuse. And so Julie K. Brown went and tracked down a lot of the victims of the abuse and then re-brought all this up in 2019, which went after Jeffrey Epstein. You could say that like the state also may have lost their interest in Jeffrey Epstein or had gone afoul of, say, a lot of the elites in power, so they kind of let it happen in 2019. It's not like all of a sudden they got an appetite for justice, let's put it that way. But, of course, now, because of the public pressure to release these files, to me, this is almost like getting Al Capone on tax fraud. Right. You know, like, the real crime is that he abused underage women and literally raped. I mean, there's no consent for underage women, and the whole thing's disgusting. In any just society, you know, you'd probably be put to death for something like that. But if this is where you can get someone, then this is how you get someone. It's
just kind of funny that, like, we don't have in our American and even, you know, Western civilization, the ability to like talk about like what is the problem here. So like, you know, in Virginia, you know, I hear a lot about Epstein Island, like pedophilia island, you know, and she is underage. She's 17, although you could make the case in England that's the age of majority or whatever, but it's not like she's 12, obviously. But even if it's not a law being broken, you're talking about very powerful men with a lot of access, a lot of money, and the whole royal family behind them. And so it is an abusive relationship,
Right.
And the thing is if she had been, let's say, 18 at the start of it, it would still be an abusive relationship, an abusive power per se, even if you weren't breaking the law, because it's like we as a society should look down upon men in their 50s going after 18-year-old women, even if they are of legal age. It's still predatory in nature, even if it's legal. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why we revolt at what's the former head coach of the Packers?
Oh no, Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick. Yeah, I mean, like, he's 75 years old or whatever it is, and he's going after a 22-year-old influencer. It's totally legal, but it's still reprehensible, and we don't have, but we have this in the sexual revolution, it's like, oh, well, if they're of age, everything's fine. Obviously, in the case with someone like this, where she was 17, underage, it's still abusive, but
and I think
an interesting distinction to make. Okay, go ahead, Erica.
Well, I was just going to say, I think too, the total disturbing, like, this is utterly disturbing. There is actually, Emily Jasinski is doing a phenomenal job of trying to keep people's eye on the actual, like, crime here against girls, underage girls. She's going through the files. She's kind of taking up that mantle from Julie K. Brown. But so just to point that out, if you want to do more research into that, which you got to have like guts of steel to go there. But also, like, I think Cigar and Jetty was making this point that when he's talking to friends who are in the FBI or like people who investigate this really, really, really dark stuff. And what the guy was telling him is what the sex stuff is a flag for when men are this addled in their brains because of this overwhelming sex addiction to the most disgusting behaviors. It demonstrates an absolute horrific level of judgment on their part in this area of their life. And it is almost never that you press upon that and you don't find absolute horrific levels of judgment in other areas of their life. And it's always the trifecta: sex, money, power. You find someone who is debauched sexually, they're going to be messed up when it comes to money, and they're going to be totally warped when it comes to lusting after power. And I think you see this with Prince Andrew, and the fact that the charges against him are actually now like charges of financial impropriety as a trade envoy. But like, to look there because of the demonstration of what is just, it's so contrary to human nature to see the stuff that he was doing. I mean, his wife Fergie was messed up in this as well. And like the tentacles just go all through. I was watching a couple of BBC commentators this morning to try and get, okay, what are people saying across the pond? And you can almost hear in their voices as they're like, this might cause the king to abdicate, because they would just love it. The British would love if King Charles would step aside and let handsome Prince William, who has always been highly critical of Andrew and the rest of all the royal family scandals, to just step in with his beautiful wife and like start fresh for the royal family. So if you want to know what they're talking about on the talk shows across the pond, they're like, maybe we'll finally get Charles to abdicate. I mean, he has cancer too, so there's the health issue, but you could almost like hear the hope in their voices. Like,
yeah. I mean, but this is interesting to me because it's an inkling of some type of accountability, because the only people that have actually been held accountable are in the private sector. And in my mind, at minimum,
in Europe,
Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Howard Lutnick should be fired and disgraced. All very publicly lied about their involvement with the files, what was in the files, their involvement with Epstein. And the problem is because these people still have power. They largely have not been punished. And like, even for example, like they brought in Les Wexner, who they protected him in the files by not naming him as a co-conspirator for.
You got to tell the people who he is. Who's Les Wexner?
Les Wexner, Ohio billionaire. He was the Victoria's Secret billionaire. He's the source of Epstein's wealth, sold him his townhouse, quote, broke ties in 2007, but gave Epstein power of attorney over his entire financial empire. So it's pretty hard to believe, and that's just tip of the iceberg, that he did not know what was going on. Epstein, of course, prolific weapons trafficker, human trafficker throughout like the late 80s, 90s area, and then shifted a lot more to the sexual blackmail in the 2000s. But he was a part of all this. Like, there's tracking of the plane landing, the Lolita Express landing in Ohio at Les Wexner's airport. They're, of course, connected. He went before a U.S. Oversight Committee about his decades-long association with Jeffrey Epstein, and he called him a world-class con man who stole from him and insisting he never knew about Epstein's crimes or participated in them. There's a crazy clip going around right now, which might just be like, I don't know, normal attorney stuff, but the video is coming out on C-SPAN of him testifying, and he's like, yeah, he was actually talking about, the question he was asked was about, I can't remember what it was, but his response was, well, there was someone in the Vatican embassy to the United States that I shifted and brought on staff. And his lawyer like leans over to him and says, I will kill you if you do not answer this in 5 words, which might just be, stop saying stupid stuff that's going to be on the record and recorded, or don't admit too much might be my thought. But it's crazy to me. So part of the problem with Les Wexner is he was so obviously involved, so obviously publicly involved, everyone knew it. And this was the first time he's been questioned. So how is it possible this is the first time it's questioned? It wasn't in 2019 when Epstein was brought into jail. It wasn't in 2008 when he received that first conviction for sex trafficking a minor, in which they totally downplayed what had actually happened there. And of course, they were trying to rehabilitate his reputation as a philanthropist. That's the problem. Like, why have we not? He's an old man now. I think he's in his 80s.
He's 88 years old. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so like a couple of data points there. There's a small number of specific named allegations tied to Wexner linked properties in and around New Albany, plus broader claims that investigators say they're still trying to substantiate. Maria Farmer, an Epstein accuser, has alleged that she was sexually assaulted by Epstein at a residence linked to Wexner in the New Albany area, and has described being detained, kept from leaving in connection with that incident. Wexner has denied the involvement. In the recent House Oversight investigation, at least one member of Congress publicly said the committee never heard testimony from a survivor who claimed she was sexually abused at Wexner's New Albany home.
It did hear the testimony.
Oh, it did hear the testimony
of the survivor.
So what I'm saying, this isn't even about, and also Ron Wyden, say what you want about Ron Wyden, but they've basically urged the U.S. Treasury to show they have all of these, the banks flagged unusual transactions in regards to, so it'd be like if I went to a bank and I was like, okay, I want to take out $9,999 because I know that the limit to get pinged for an unusual transaction is $10,000. There's hundreds of these transactions between Jeffrey Epstein that we know that are in the U.S. Treasury, and the U.S. Treasury will not open up that information. So the reason Wexner is interesting to me, and the reason that the financial information is interesting to me, is clearly he was a high-level money launderer for all of the decision makers, billionaires, governments, et cetera, all over the country. So the sex stuff, of course, linked, but we're not even really getting the real meat. If we got into, oh my gosh, like this person has a shell company in the Virgin Islands, this person has something here, we start to paint a bigger picture of how the global order is organized, like 2008 financial crisis everywhere. What'd you say?
Through Epstein's Island, you're saying?
Not necessarily through the island, but Swiss bank accounts, et cetera.
I mean,
you could just say you're not interested. I just fundamentally disagree.
Well, I'm going to read a comment from Roger Newman in the chat. He said, unfortunately, it appears most of the women involved were of age and enjoying their trips to the island, money and aura of associating with powerful people. That seems to be what the early evidence suggests.
Would love to see facts on that. I mean, the people that got out of being named in the 2008 sex offender conviction of Jeffrey Epstein, most of them were 13, 14, 15 years old. He also trafficked women from Eastern Europe and gave them passports and controlled them. I mean, are you serious? Like that doesn't hold up to any scrutiny.
Yeah, I would really encourage people to go follow Emily Jasinski.
And go check out Julie K. Brown. She already broke all this open in 2019. I mean, it's just like surface level stuff. Really? You thought they enjoyed? Maybe some of them. I don't know. But you don't see any power imbalance there?
I see a power imbalance? I started from the top by saying there's a power imbalance. I mean, obviously you're talking about men with a lot of power, a lot of money, a lot of access, and they're bringing in, young girls or young women to this island. Yeah. I mean, do I think it's a horrible situation? Yeah. I mean, I'm just like, what percentage of the people were like, remarkably underage?
Many.
We were able to get Prince Andrew, the former Prince Andrew, but a lot of the crimes he got were not even associated with the affair that he had, or the relationship, which I consider to be an abuse of power, obviously. But like, what, are we going to see actual crimes that were committed? That's what I'm wondering about. Like, I mean, I've heard a lot of talk about everything with regards to the Epstein Island and everything. Do I think the guy is an evil man? Yeah. Do I think he was trying to do this to get access? And sure. But like, I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of talk about how this was like going to blow the doors open on everything with regards to the international order and politics and everything. And I mean, Prince Andrew got arrested. Okay.
Sure. Can I give you a quick rebuttal? Pam Bondi responded that the Dow is up 500 points or whatever. And then Trump said, well, if I release it, a lot of my friends are going to be in trouble. So,
okay,
yes.
So, I mean, you don't have to convince me that Pam Bondi is a terrible attorney general and she says dumb things. I mean, that's not, I'm just saying, like, I've seen a lot of discussion about this online, and it's just built up, and people are just so assumed that, like, it's this house of cards. It's all going to topple once all this stuff comes to light. And
well, we have 2% of it now, Josh. And Kash Patel said that there was nothing in here that indicated blackmail of any kind, sexual trafficking of any kind, or anything that will warrant an investigation. Direct quote. So this is the problem. Like, you might, so I guess would extend an olive branch on it. Just because a name appears in the files doesn't mean torches and pitchforks, they should go down. The problem is that people that were banging the drum at Epstein for a long time were called kooks, crazy people. You believe in a global cabal of elites that are pedophiles and pull the strings in places like Libya, et cetera. And we just got proof of that in just a small percentage of these files. So it's like, it's the gaslighting. And then you could say, okay, stay focused. We should actually have a criminal investigation on these people, in which it seems like the United Kingdom is finally doing. But if the United States would have released this information, they could have done it.
Had little to do with, I mean, they would have had him on some of this financial stuff, regardless of his participation in the island, though, right?
No, they wouldn't have, because they wouldn't have released the files. They wouldn't have known about it.
No. I mean, like, the crimes he committed were not even like Epstein Island files. Crimes. It was just, we found out about it because of
the
yes,
files. So then why wouldn't he have been punished? He wouldn't have been punished unless the files are up.
I just feel like I keep hearing that, like, we're going to have this whole house of cards, and we're going to just get floodgate of arrests and crimes. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical that this is going to be the big hubbub that everyone's saying it is. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, I think that two things could be true. One, that we see the files being released in the United States and the actual, like, holding to account, even if it's not entirely 100% comprehensive, but it occurs overseas. Like, we're seeing it, the momentum pick up in the UK between Lord Mendelsohn and then Keir Starmer, like, starting to feel the heat. And now the arrest of Andrew. We had the arrest of the former prime minister of Norway, was it? That happened because of this release. So, like, we could be seeing some cleaning house, but it's peripheral to the United States. One thing we might get more out of, I'm not holding my breath, next week, February 26th and 27th, the Clintons are being deposed from their mansion in Chappaqua, New York. So I mean, hold your breath. Josh, we will have to address this again on the
well, I mean, like,
up next, the Clintons.
I don't think anything will happen from that deposition. I mean, I think the crimes that Hillary and Bill committed, outside of the island are enough that we could have been able to get them on, and no one's doing anything on that. So,
well, there's something called Chinagate where they accepted money from China via Jeffrey Epstein. So,
well, I mean, no one doubts that they got buckets of cash. I remember that's been talked about for 30 years.
I know. So, but that holds a lot of keys to that. So I guess someone brought it up. It's like, yes, we need a proper investigation. Clearly, we have not gotten a proper investigation, and now the public's doing it. Josh, would you say, just out of curiosity, that the way that this administration, the most transparent administration in history, has handled the release of the Epstein files, or just the Epstein saga in general, is enough to give them a charge of corruption?
No, I think it's been a debacle. I attribute it more towards, incompetence rather than obviously that it's nefarious in nature. I mean, I don't know. I mean, does someone have the goods on Kash Patel? I mean, I don't know. Like, don't rule out the possibility that we have a government full of people who are just they obviously have to be corrupt, or could they just be incompetent? Could they be blundering their way through things? I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, I just think, to me, the way this was handled reeks of pure corruption. and has completely discredited my faith in the Department of Justice until this is rectified. If anything, it gives me more faith. Like Congress has gotten a big win out of this because they actually got some files out. But I guess for people looking at political
what are the
here,
biggest smoking guns? I mean, obviously the
lies from the head of the FBI who ran on releasing these files and then just completely flipped and then lied about what was in them, and then Pam Bondi lying and covering it up as well. Trump himself. I mean, you can even say with Trump, it's like he didn't run on per se, partially because he knew about a lot of this kind of thing and that he wouldn't want to release it. That's why in a lot of his rallies, he didn't say anything about it, really. I think you have to go back to 2016, you say.
Do you anticipate that there will be enough evidence found in these emails and these files to actually bring prosecution against people in the United States?
That would not be the point.
I mean, in a significant way, not like, oh, this 2-3 people, but like, like lots of people will actually, stand trial for this in the United States.
So if the Justice Department, there's a practical reality and then there's on principle. On principle, it is the proper authority vested in the United States, including the Justice Department, to conduct investigations to bring justice. Clearly, there was information in here, copious amounts of information to at least do investigations, and that just did not happen. Mm-hmm. And then they lied about what was in it, and then they didn't release it until they were forced to by Congress. That to me is corruption. Do I think that what is contained in the files right now could actually lead to the proper, proper justice, like a trial? Like, I don't know about the machinery of the Department of Justice clearly at this point, if they'd actually do it. So I guess I don't have faith in the Justice Department to actually carry out an investigation in the way that should.
I mean, I just, there's a lot of people that think that we're going to get the goods on so many people, and we're going to know it all is going to come to light, and we're going to be able to identify so many people that have committed major crimes because of this. I mean, if
then
that
why not release it?
If that is, listen, I'm not against it. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right, but then I feel like you're almost carrying water for the Department of Justice and Trump here. I feel like this is their biggest black mark, in my opinion, for no reason. I think they just overestimated, people's sincere desire to hold pedophiles accountable and to have like autonomy over what goes on in our country. Clearly, that's not been the case. It's been interstate actors.
Do you think that there is going to be a lot of people that will be eventually arrested and facing trial because of what comes to light in all these documents, that the names will just know tons of people that have committed vast crimes because of these files?
The entirety of the files?
Yes, sir. This is what I'm asking you.
Yes, then I do.
Hey,
yes.
All right. All I'm saying is, if, wonderful. If that is true and we are able to find out a lot of people who committed crimes and then we can arrest them and prosecute them, great. I remain a skeptic. I think what's going to end up happening is a lot of people are going to have egg on their face. It's going to be very embarrassing, a lot of stuff. But the number of people that end up in handcuffs and actually face trial and get arrested and go to prison might be a little bit low. Okay. That doesn't mean I'm carrying water for Pam Bondi, who I've already said I'd love to see her be fired like tomorrow. I would love that.
More for Trump.
I don't know any.
I don't think Trump has any.
I got no love for Kash Patel. I mean, I'm just saying, just because there's a lot of people online who are just like, oh, these files they got the goods on everyone, and we're going to be able to know everything. Guess what? You don't have to be, carrying water for people who like pedophiles to say, I'm just not sure we're going to get a ton of information out of this.
Sure. I don't know. I just think that's a straw man.
Right. We'll see.
That's kind of a straw man characterization of what people want here. People want proper justice through our own government. We're not getting it. They don't think everyone's going to go down.
It's not a straw man argument. I'm saying there's a lot of people who think that there's going to be a ton of people we're going to know the names of all these horrible people and all the crimes they committed. And I'm saying that might happen. It also might happen that we won't know about detailed crimes committed by a ton of bad people. We might just end up, when all is said and done, it might end up being the case that we hear about a ton of people who have unseemly things said, egg on their faces, but we're not actually able to put them in handcuffs and put them on trial. That's my point I'm making.
I think Josh is just making a prediction.
That mean that they didn't commit crimes? I didn't say that.
Fine.
I didn't say they didn't commit crimes, that you'd have the goods on them, that you'd have the proof to be able to arrest them, put them, convict them and put them in jail. I remain skeptical, but apparently, everyone who's promoting the Epstein files can be complete skeptics. They're they're the base ones who are like willing to uncover whatever it is. I'm like, okay, great, go for it, uncover it. Tell me what you got.
We're trying.
Yeah, I'm not your problem.
Okay, sounds good. You want to hear about the Board of Peace?
Anything else, please?
Moving on.
Moving on to the Board of Peace. Got to give a shout out. Great write up here. Zeal News by Elise. Shout out to Elise. Trump announces $10 billion pledge, $7 billion international pledge for Gaza reconstruction efforts. Interesting. The vibe of this event was kind of funny. It felt like a rally. If anyone tuned into any of it, it kind of felt like a Trump rally, which I guess makes sense because Trump's in charge of it. So a little bit of background before we get into the meeting. It was unveiled at the World Economic Forum in Davos. This was back in January. It originated from that 20-point Gaza peace plan announced in September. It helped broker the fragile Israel-Hamas ceasefire in October 2025 after 2 years of war. The board coordinates security, infrastructure rebuilding, homes, and transitional governance in Gaza. It has since expanded to address other hotspots worldwide. And that's why at this point, there's a lot of other countries that are concerned, is this kind of usurping the United Nations? So there's a lot of things going on here, a lot of different reasons why people are interested in it. The structure, Trump is the chairman. It includes 26 to 27 founding members. This is mostly Gulf, Middle Eastern states, plus select others. There's no Palestinian representatives on the board. There's a separate U.S.-backed committee of Palestinian technocrats planned for day-to-day Gaza governance during the transition. Israel is a member. No other permanent UN Security Council members beyond the United States are core participants. They're kind of fueling a bit of the, okay, we're replacing the United Nations skepticism. So they have an estimated needs versus pledges at this point for Gaza. Full Gaza reconstruction is estimated at $70 billion. That's a UN figure.
You can add 30% to that just by the time it's done. Just
totally. Yeah, right. That's a projection. It's going to be much more.
Yeah.
It's all in rubble. So it's going to need to be completely rebuilt. The new pledges are an initial down payment. Timelines for disbursement remain unspecified, and the U.S. portion requires congressional approval, which it has not gotten right now. So a lot of people are asking, where'd this $10 billion number come from? Who's going to pay for it? Congress hasn't approved it yet. So it had its first meeting.
They all had to pay $1 billion just to join.
That's true. There was, some pledges as for membership on the board as well, like the $1 billion, or it was different per country.
Pope Leo could have joined for free, but he politely declined.
I think really smartly declined. But
yeah.
For people curious about the atmosphere at this meeting, I just couldn't stop laughing at this.
Oh my.
80s music is still king, man. What can I say?
Trump loves his 80s music.
So funny.
It's really
the Gloria music killed me.
75 to 85. That's like the him the golden decade, right? He likes YMCA.
Yep.
And Elvis Presley, Beach
Staying
Boys,
alive.
Trump hats distributed, very Trumpian. But at this point, the interesting things we get from this meeting is that we got troop/stabilization commitments. So 5 countries have pledged troops for the international stabilization force, goal of 20,000 soldiers plus 12,000 police. Indonesia up to 8,000, Morocco, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, and Albania. So the initial focus is to deploy to Rafah. It's currently Israeli controlled and largely destroyed. Egypt and Jordan committed to train local police. This is led by U.S. Major General Jasper Jeffries with Indonesian deputy. Turkey indicated readiness to contribute. Also, interesting note: FIFA pledged 50 to 75 million for soccer facilities, which is interesting. And then the UN referenced for 2 billion in humanitarian aid in some coverage. So the conditions at this point is that the ceasefire remains stable per Trump, but fragile. There has been some violations reported on both sides. Core precondition is that there is a full Hamas disarmament and de-radicalization before major rebuilding. Israel insists no reconstruction until this happens. Hamas has promised to disarm and hand governments to the technocratic committee, but has shown reluctance. Trump warned of very harsh consequences if they fail. Mediators see some progress, but it remains unresolved hurdle. And then there'll be this transitional governance, Palestinian technocrats, no direct Hamas role. 2,000 have applied for a new police force. Israel has not yet allowed the committee full access. So interesting, if you look at the reconstruction framework, what they're looking at, it includes plans for an airport, data centers, workforce housing, and coastal tourism development. The framework also establishes a Palestinian technocratic governing body to manage the day-to-day there. Now, what was interesting about the coverage this received in the Loop is that people were really upset about the $10 billion number. Now, of course, I don't know if they're as upset about the $30+ billion number that we have already contributed since 2023. But now it seems like, wait a second, why are we on the hook? I mean, we're paying magnitudes more than every other country. That 10 billion number is very significant. And to that, I will say, and listen, I'm not for just going back to the past to say people were right, because at this point there has to be a solution. But Ron Paul in 2002 did say, this is in 2002, one, U.S. taxpayers would be funding the rebuilding of bombed regions of Palestine. Of course, it came true. The massive U.S. money, weapons, and promises would be flowing to Israel and allied Arab countries. True. The U.S. would be launching a major war in Iraq without proper international authority. True.
Check.
That some of our moderate Arab allies would be overthrown by Islamic fundamentalists. Egypt, check. Libya, Tunisia, check. The American people would become poorer, less free, and more dependent on government for economic security. Check. The massive credit expansion and Federal Reserve policies would cause severe economic instability. This is before the financial crisis. Bingo. That there would be a simultaneous growth of military police powers appealing to conservatives and the welfare state appealing to liberals.
Check.
Yep. That there would be an overall erosion of liberty and mounting economic problems from interventionist policies he coined as blowback. Check.
The only thing he missed was a global pandemic that would then supercharge all of these threats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
2020.
He's still alive.
Global pandemic. You could still,
He's still alive and sharp.
Gosh.
So I like.
You know what his occupation?
I don't even know what to say about
before
all
he ran
this,
for
but-
Congress.
What was he?
His what?
Do you know what his occupation was before?
Yeah, he was a gynecologist, right? Or he was
He delivered babies.
doctor, or not a
Aw.
gynecologist. Yeah.
OBGYN.
OBGYN. Yeah.
There you go. Oh,
And he was, of course, like I don't know if soft spoken, but he's just like a gentleman Christian. And the smears that he got, the smears
Good
that he
guy,
got
although
on
his son
par
in the
with-
Senate kind of went a little weird recently by saying that, big tech companies could censor you. I was like, what is this? Like Rand Paul, I thought you were a libertarian.
And then his other suggestion that got people going recently was he proposed like citizenship, so people that are here illegally don't have to leave, but they wouldn't become citizens. So they can just be here economically without they couldn't vote or something like that. And I was like, I don't like that, Rand. But
that just sounds like a
know.
regular old country club Republican, which is not out of fashion for him, which is
very
weird.
true. Any
he's still
thoughts?
batting like 9 out of 10 though. So
Any thoughts on the Board of Peace before we move on? I just thought we would give an update.
Sure. Good. Sounds good. Fine. Whatever.
Yeah,
it's about the most boring thing ever after Epstein.
Just only the two most popular important issues.
It's hard to stay awake. I need more coffee. Come on.
Yeah, it's a mess. The Middle East thing is a mess. I think we talked last time about the massive military buildup that we're seeing towards Iran. That remains to be seen. Trump has given Iran, I think he said, he threw out the number 10 days on an airplane somewhere that something big will happen in 10 days.
Yeah, he threatened Iran too at this.
Yeah, like this
is
was
awesome.
Last time he gave Iran a 2-week deadline, it was 24 hours later. I think we sent the bombers over. So who knows what's going to happen over the weekend. But the fact is, like, the Middle East, Gaza is so flattened and so utterly destroyed. It's a vacuum.
Do not pet.
Do not pet the porcupine. Thank you, Josh. I think we can end on that one, but we'll see.
Well, we're going to go into probably more on Monday, but for people who are asking about like on the Supreme Court tariff stuff, the court, ruled 6-3 against it. They didn't say what would happen with the money that was levied.
Already taken.
That remains a sticking point. Like, what exactly is going to happen to that? The court didn't address it. The court said that a president could unilaterally ban or embargo imports from a certain country based on the law, but he couldn't just levy tariffs on them. So, like, if there was a strategic national security reason why you couldn't allow imports from, let's say, Turkey or something like that, the president would have the authority to unilaterally say, nope, we're embargo. We're not going to do any trade with Turkey because of national security or whatever. But you can't just say, oh no, we're going to keep trading, but I'm going to impose as the president a tariff on it. It's like, no, that's still Congress's authority. So that's basically the quick read. We'll go into more on Monday, but that's the quick read on
it. Happened like an hour or half hour before the show, so I wanted to actually look into it. But that was kind of my read too. Of it's not total defeat in that I just think the way that Trump went about Liberation Day was kind of stupid, because it wasn't targeted. Like it was just, they were tariffing countries that don't even trade with us. They're tariffing Antarctica or whatever.
Part of that was, there's a reason for that, because
I understand the reason for it, but I knew this would happen.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you weren't going to be specific here, because of course you're using emergency powers, then this would eventually come up. It's like, well, this is so broad. This should require congressional authorization, which is probably true. If you could have done like 3 places and made a really strong case for it, then maybe it works, but I don't know. So it just narrows it out.
You might, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump finds a new law that he can embolden and try to put this stuff down again. We'll see, but more to come on Monday.
Yeah. Wriggles around. All right, let's move on to good news now. What do you got, Ergo?
I have great news from the architectural world. Not all things are ugly. The Sagrada Familia in Barcelona.
Wait, it was the Obama Library?
Oh yeah, the Obama Library is almost open. No, ugly.
No.
Oh my God. Monstrosity. That
looks like a drone strike with Live, Laugh, Love on the top.
It
right.
actually looks like, what is that giant like spaceship in Dune that lands on Arrakis? It's like this big, massive metal thing, and that's what the Obama Library is.
Yeah.
And I can't even look at it anymore.
No, you know what? It kind of looks like the thing in Star Wars a little bit, that the Jawas were in. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. The Jawa transport.
But yeah, the Jawa transport. It kind of looks like that, but worse.
It does. Yeah, with words on it. Anyway.
Yep. All right. Good architecture and good news.
Yeah, but let's go to the good news. This is the Sagrada Familia. They finally it's been under construction for over 100 years. Interestingly enough, the architect who designed it, Antonio Gaudí, is a venerable. He is on his cause for canonization, has been opened. Did not know that. Very cool. But if you pull up the little picture here, they put the top piece on the tallest tower, making it the highest Catholic church, the tallest Catholic church in the entire world. You can see them putting in the last piece of the top of the cross right here. And then actually, if you want to get some good drone footage, that was my second clip there, if the internets will allow you to do that.
Let's do it.
But very, very beautiful. Yeah, don't need
bittersweet symphony.
Olay, right?
Yeah.
So very
sweet symphony there.
Very cool. And it's a neat blend of like traditional and modern.
Kind of looks like Candyland a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. When you go inside, there's vaults where it looks like you're in a forest of trees, but it's made of stone, and so it's very cool, very fun. I would love to go visit this church someday. So
it almost looks like Lego from here. Like this almost doesn't look real.
I definitely encourage people to visit Spain. Beautiful country.
Oh, yes. Josh has just come back from Spain.
Do you pronounce Barcelona like Barcelona?
Barcelona.
Are you Spanish enough?
Yeah.
Barcelona.
Okay, there you go.
That's how you say it.
Asked and answered.
Paris.
Asked and answered. All right, Josh.
Okay, so the New Hampshire House passed legislation called the Countering Hate and Revolutionary Ideology in Education. For those paying attention at home, that's the Charlie Act, an ode to Charlie Kirk. Let's hear a little snippet from the House Majority Leader on the floor there.
All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rise today in support of HB 1792. Let me start with a question. What is the purpose of a public school? Is it to teach children to read, to write, to do math, to understand science and history? Or is it to sort 6-year-olds by their skin color and tell them who's the oppressor and who's the victim? Because right now in schools that you and I fund with our tax dollars, children are being subjected to critical race theory and radical gender ideology, not as mere topics of discussion, but as doctrine, as gospel, as the very price of admission to participation in public education. A self-described liberal parent from the Hillsborough Deering School District testified before the committee that her son is, I quote, overwhelmed with sexual content and racial misinformation at his high school. Now, this woman has worked as a sex offender counselor at the New Hampshire State Prison. Her words, "It's obvious to me." Now, when someone who has spent her career identifying predatory behavior tells you that something is wrong in our schools, you listen.
Hey, man, you can stop right there.
Man.
That is outstanding information. First of all, I want to give a shout out there, Jason Osborne, the guy, the speaker there.
Yeah.
I went to college with him at Hillsdale.
Really?
Yeah, good guy. So obviously, he was much more libertarian, and so was I back then. But he's doing the Lord's work there. I don't know if he's particularly religious. I'm saying the work he's doing is good. But I point this out because there's some people who are very cynical, and they say, you can't do anything. There's no getting out of this. There's no political solution. Why do you bother get involved in politics? And just, think about it. 20, 30 years ago, New Hampshire was being invaded by, as we mentioned before, they call them massholes, people from Massachusetts coming into the state and voting, navy blue. And the state had been a swing state for a long time, and then it just went radically to the left. But guess what? People who loved their country got organized. They started fighting back. They decided to go ahead and, win some elections. And what happens when you win elections? You can actually get meaningful legislation like this passed. So, all these, it's just easy. It's super easy to scroll social media and hear people complain about how bad things are and throw up your hands in defeat and say, who gives a crap? Can't do anything anyway.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I am absolutely convinced. For example, the state of the Republican Party itself. Even 10 years ago, before Donald Trump went down that escalator, you're talking about decades of rhino Republicans running the show. Are they still around? Yes. Do we still have to push back at them? Of course. But it has been remarkably different. This party, the GOP, is so much more improved from the days of when I first got involved in politics, like Trent Lott, Bill Frist. These are the guys who were in the Senate. George W. Bush, Dick Cheney. How many million times better is J.D. Vance than Dick Cheney? It boggles the mind. So do we need to still work hard? Will there still be setbacks? Of course. But it's no, griping and complaining from social media is no excuse for getting organized.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mine just, it's the best. The United States beating Canada and stuff. Will it ever get old? Never. Even if it's women's hockey, which I don't listen. Wasn't really a big curling guy or a big women's hockey guy until recently, but just beating Canada in hockey is so awesome. The girl that scored winning overtime goal to beat Canada to get the gold medal is from Michigan. So shout out. Just awesome. Such an awesome move too. And I can't play it because we got big time dinged last time we played Olympic stuff. So stupid, but just an incredible move, incredible goal. It was storybook. It's the best. And
exceptional athleticism.
Oh, dude, so awesome. And then Canada, funny enough, handled it exactly how you thought. They posted on the Team Canada X account, "Silver shines just as bright with a heart."
That is such a feminized take on this, guys. Girls.
That's the most Canadian thing I've ever seen, bro.
Is there anything more?
Dude, and then of course that reminds me of my favorite. Someone commented this on. It's my favorite. One of my favorite Alex Jones clips.
Oh gosh.
Liberal. Happy fun, la la la. Human smuggling, fentanyl deaths, forced government euthanasia.
They commented on top of the Canadian saying that silver shines just as bright. No, it doesn't, Canada. No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
We reserve that for America. So cheering on the boys. The men's team during the Four Nations showdown, starting to fight with Canada immediately. It all time. Or seriously, maybe one of the moments of the decade. I'll never forget immediately starting like 2 fights right away because they booed the anthem. It's like, that just gets me fired up.
And hey,
Watch clips of
the this is the semifinals for the men's, so we need the U.S. men's hockey team to win today, and Canada will likely also win. And then if that happens, we get the showdown on Sunday. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but
yeah,
could be a fun weekend for Olympic hockey stuff. So
yeah,
so cool. Yeah, and then of course you think of Miracle on Ice, and then people were sharing the clip of Herb Brooks calling out the guy who had a bruised knee. He's like, get dressed. Like, what do you want to play hockey? He's like, I'm hurt. He's like, are you a hockey player, aren't you? I'm a hockey player. He yells at him and said, that'll get him fired up. He walks out. Of course, they're all fired up. So awesome. Oh, so sick. I might go watch Miracle on Ice over the weekend.
Yeah, Tom's feeling it. Friday night movie.
It's so good. I love Miracle.
yeah, we're planning on watching it tomorrow night. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, Erica.
Well, we watched the Netflix documentary last week.
Yeah, how was that? Is that worth
Very
watching?
good.
Okay.
I mean, it's still Netflix, but yeah, I was like 98% fine. I didn't really have any problem with it at all.
All right.
What was the 2%?
It's Netflix.
Okay, there you go. It's Netflix. That's the Netflix tax.
They can never get 100 in my mind.
Yeah.
That's just,
impossible.
Dude, Netflix, I don't know. Their sports stuff's been really good. I've actually liked a lot of their Untold series, especially the one on Michigan cheating with Connor Stalions. That one was good. Okay. Erica, take me through.
All right.
What's going on with SSPX?
A tragic turn in the saga of the Society of St. Pius X, or SSPX. Here you see a lineup shot of the leadership of the SSPX. As we reported last week, they met with Cardinal Fernandez, Cardinal Tucci of the DDF, and there was some, the Vatican's account of it was that there was some promising progress made. Of course, the SSPX had announced it was going to ordain bishops this July 1st coming up without papal approval, without a papal mandate, which would incur automatic excommunication from the Vatican's point of view. And I say that for a reason. I'll get to it in a minute. So we didn't get a statement from the SSPX itself following that meeting with Cardinal Fernandez. That came out yesterday, and again, the inimitable Diane Montagna broke the news. The leadership of the Society of St. Pius X has announced it will proceed with the episcopal ordinations on July 1st, despite the Vatican's warning that doing so without a papal mandate would constitute, quote, a decisive rupture of ecclesial communion or schism. In a letter dated February 18th, so just 2 days ago, the prefect of to the prefect of the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, SSPX Superior General David Pagliarani welcomed the prefect's offer to resume theological discussions, but stated that he cannot, quote, accept the perspective and objectives in the name of which the Dicastery offers to resume dialogue in the present situation, nor indeed the postponement of the date of the 1st of July for the ordinations of their new bishops. A few of the points in his letter, he said that he was appreciative of the meeting with Cardinal Fernandez, but that he had asked for this meeting or a similar meeting 7 years ago in 2019, and he was denied that meeting 7 years ago because at the time the DDF said that, quote, doctrinal agreement was impossible. So that was the last he heard from them. He said that the society had desired to have, quote, fraternal exchanges, which is why he had asked for that conversation during a calm and peaceful time, as he characterized it. So a time when maybe Francis appeared to be softening in his stance toward the society, but then he was denied a conversation. So just to go through the reason he cannot accept the terms of the Vatican, he agrees. He says there is no point in having a conversation because there can be no doctrinal agreement when the Vatican has said that that doctrinal agreement must include acceptance of Vatican II and subsequent doctrinal and pastoral developments. He says they are a rupture in tradition. He also noted that the interpretation of Vatican II is already very clear and the SSPX has rejected it. And he noted that it was only when the SSPX announced it would be having these episcopal ordinations that the DDF responded to open the dialogue. He also said criteria for union with Rome is not under either the authority of the DDF or the SSPX to determine through dialogue. And again, he pointed out that he's been trying to have this dialogue for years. And he pointed to Cardinal Mueller, who in 2017 said that the minimum requirements for union with Rome would include acceptance of Vatican II and the post-conciliar period. And he said that was impossible. So heartbreaking is one word for it. You hope for unity, you hope for progress in these conversations. And reading it, I read the whole letter a couple of times now, and what struck me most was that, he has the absolute conviction that Vatican II and the subsequent papal interpretations of it, and of course the new Mass, the Novus Ordo, as distinct as absolute ruptures with tradition. And therefore, the logical build out of that is that, well, of course, you can't have dialogue on how much of Vatican II you have to accept in order to maintain union with Rome. It was also interesting, too, because he notes that from the society's point of view, they're not in schism. He also points out that the DDF doesn't have the authority to rule on what would be the minimum requirement for continued union with Rome. So you're wondering if he's just basically saying, okay, it's in Pope Leo's lap now?
Is that what he's saying? Is that
I
the
guess I
Pope
don't
is the only
understand
person
why
with the
that-
authority?
Yeah.
Is that what he's saying? Is the
He
Pope's the only
doesn't
person
say
that would
that.
have authority?
He does
But
not say that
okay.
explicitly, but that would be sort of the next, if they're not going to dialogue with a dicastery, which he sees as not having magisterial authority, which is accurate, like in itself, it does not have magisterial authority. The next step would be, well, another council or the Pope himself. Would speaking to the Pope himself count as someone with whom he could dialogue? We don't know. We don't know how the Vatican's going to respond here. He did in the final paragraph. This was interesting. You'll remember we also reported on when Cardinal Fernandez issued the letter on Mary as mediatrix of all graces and these titles of Mary that should now be used with caution, quote unquote. He actually ended the letter by appealing to the Holy Ghost and do not take this as a provocation, his most holy spouse, the mediatrix of all graces. Then he closes out the letter. Christine Niles, who's done a great job of following this whole drama, I think she's right where she's like, this is entirely predictable and unsurprising as the outcome of this meeting with Fernandez, because we have known that the SSPX will not accept Vatican II documents. They have said explicitly that the Novus Ordo is quote unquote evil in many of their statements from the 2010s. So this was almost bizarre, that this would even have taken place in the first place with Fernandez. But she characterized it as the SSPX giving the middle finger to the Vatican. I think that might be a little bit extreme, but
I don't even know why they're bothering. Like, if you think the Novus Ordo
Exactly.
is evil, like, are you just? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I just don't. The whole Latin Rite is going to go? Oh my gosh, you're totally right. Let me completely change everything we're doing. I mean,
right.
Well, anyway, I'll pray for it. I know no ill will towards them, but
Yeah,
it seems weird.
really hard to see a way
It's
forward,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. And then, like we've already seen, like what is it, Pope Pius V, like kind of went that way at one point, and it's genuinely sad because they did basically preserve the Latin Mass, like the extraordinary form of the Mass, to now, and then you get places like FSSP, you get Institute of Christ the King now that continue that, and it's kind of hot in the streets with the young kids. So like that, we probably don't have that without SSPX.
Yeah, and it seemed almost inevitable that it would come to the head here. I think, back in 2017, which was the statement from Cardinal Mueller that the prefect points out in his letter, or sorry, the head of the society points out in his letter here, the CDF at the time, DDF today, it pointed out what would be the 3 minimum requirements for the society to have regular canonical status, and that would be to have a new profession of faith dating from 1988. That was under John Paul II. So it was what he had outlined for the society, and they'd rejected at that time. They have to accept the teachings of the Second Vatican Council. It doesn't say how they have to interpret them. It just says they have to recognize that this was a legitimate council of the church in line with the magisterium, which they rejected again at the time, and that the members of the society have to recognize the legitimacy of the Novus Ordo, even if they themselves won't say the mass. But again, all three of those were rejected at the time by the society.
Reasonable. I don't know.
Right. And now you're at a point where they need new bishops in the society, and they aren't apparently getting converts, I don't know, from Novus Ordo bishops or whatever. So they have to make their own, and it just sort of a historical necessity for them to continue is to push to this point of rupture.
What do you mean converts? That would be like if
I don't know, like if a bishop who was, well, so the reason why they are legitimate bishops is because they were consecrated by bishops who were in complete union with Rome.
Oh, interesting.
And so yeah, it's kind of like the first generation of bishops under Henry VIII. Like they were still bishops, so they could their ordinations of priests in the Church of England at the time were completely legitimate. But then as that generation died out, there were no more bishops who had been consecrated in union with Rome. And so they were no longer able to ordain actual priests. They also changed the words of ordination. So I could go on. I could go on and on about Henry VIII.
Maybe we should.
You are a wise woman.
But it seems to be happening again. And it is always a tragedy in the church, wherever you fall on this, when there's this kind of rupture.
What I would just love is for Pope Leo to return to what Pope Benedict had started. I think that would take a lot of the air out of this balloon and allow for the proliferation, allow for any priest on the planet to
Do you think so, though?
I think it would do a lot to help. I mean,
but do you think
it would help? It wouldn't.
I don't know if it would solve the
problem, but it would help.
Yeah. It won't solve it. I agree, but I mean, it would
to the
problem.
To the tension, like because there is a legitimate gripe that people now have. Those like, okay, we're having mass in the basement somewhere because we're like it's illegal to. Yeah, like it would take a lot of air out of the tension over that. But
that's why I think Pope Benedict was a really good shepherd, a good father.
Yep.
He cared about the flock and his sheep.
Okay, on to Twilight Zone. Josh, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to do two real quick. You remember the Lucy Martinez, the teacher in Chicago who did the,
Yes.
How could I forget?
Fingers, to the neck as if, mocking.
Oh.
Josh left.
There he goes.
Oh, they got him.
Yeah.
There he is.
Well, she is, in fact, not going to get fired. So this teacher is allowed to keep her job. But another teacher who said, go ICE, is actually getting fired. So, this is just kind of interesting how, who the government school system protects.
Yeah.
They protect the radical left. And anyone else, nope, you're sorry, I'm getting rid of you.
This is so true, and it's always was funny about like the award shows with the Grammys. Like, you really want to be a radical? You really want to do something that's going to be controversial? You'd say something in support of ICE. Like even
that would be
that would for sure get you
power.
Right.
Now, I also want to share this. Feminist Jill Filipovich decided to tweet this little chestnut out. She said, if we're going to ban gender-affirming surgeries for minors, we should also ban cosmetic surgery for minors. A 15-year-old should not be getting a nose job. A 16-year-old should not be getting a boob job. Exceptions, of course, for medically necessary procedures.
Yes.
How do we say this? Your terms are acceptable? Like, I don't want kids that are 16 years old getting boob jobs. And like, first of all, like a nose job is different than having your penis cut off. Like, I mean, like, come on. Like, I just don't even understand how we can declare these to be in the same category anyway. But yes, perfectly fine. This is just another example of where feminists are like, oh, really? Guess what that would mean? That would mean
deal.
If we get rid of abortion, then we're not going to.
But also,
anymore.
Doesn't this kind of also reveal like you just so So you yourself admit this is just kind of a cosmetic surgery and that it doesn't fundamentally change who you are. And therefore you wouldn't have to reorient the entire society around what you just see as the same as a cosmetic surgery.
I mean, it's like if you don't
It
let
falls
us
apart every way you look at it.
Yeah.
if you don't let us cut off the developing breasts of young teenage girls, we're going to stop giving them fake breasts to young teenage girls. Like, oh wow, amazing
Yeah,
stuff.
you're good.
Never thought
You're
of this
good.
till yesterday. Thank you so much. I love it when a liberal reverse engineers a conservative talking point and thinks they've discovered Atlantis.
But then deletes Atlantis
Deletes it.
She deleted it because she was totally embarrassed.
because it wasn't
She
Atlantis.
should have been. She should have been. Some embarrassment. Bring back shame.
Wow,
Atlantis
yeah, what a
was-
concept. Yeah,
Do you think Atlantis was real?
Oh, yes. I hope it was. I watched.
think it-
Graham
I mean, I
Norton,
certainly hope it
and I'm
was too,
sick,
but
yes, I hope it was real.
I think it's possible it was real.
Hey, I've been watching the Pendragon cycle. I'm not supposed to like talk about other media platforms, but hey, Daily Wire Plus knocked it out of the park with this. So I just have to say Pendragon cycle has been awesome and it involves Atlantis. And so all of my like historical nerd, like, yes, just
The
it's
Atlantis heads?
feeding. It's
I mean, you
feeding
have to
all of
understand.
my historical nerdiness.
for the longest time, for centuries, people were like, do you really think, Troy ever existed until it was finally discovered, like what, 1937 or whatever it was? So
Yes.
Dude, I'll take that and I'll raise you one
crazy to
higher.
think about?
I'll take that, raise you one higher,
Oh,
Erica.
no, not the moon. No,
if-
not the moon.
If Zeal had to create the nerdiest historical production and we had to be characters in it, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so we've got like we could go back to ancient literature with like the Iliad, the Odyssey. We could go
Christopher
to
Nolan's doing the Odyssey and it looks
yeah,
sick.
he is. I know. Anne Hathaway though. I think no. Could
Wrong.
do Arthurian legend. That's very cool. The Pendragon. I mean, I'd have to go Arthurian. I just love the British Isles.
So what are you saying, to redo something or what?
Yeah, so they had like Brett Cooper in it or whatever. It'd be like, all right, the Loopcast hosts need to be a part of some nerdy historical mystique legend production, high value. What would it be? And I'm giving Erica the reins here, or Josh, you could have the reins too.
Oh, how the CIA obviously took out Nixon.
There you go.
Duh.
What about JFK?
LBJ had him killed. That was obvious.
LBJ had JFK killed.
Duh. I thought of that.
As long as I don't have to be Jackie Kennedy, I'm fine. I'll just do whatever. Just don't make me be Jackie.
Yeah, wait. Does that mean I have to get my head blown off?
Yeah,
If you do that? Do I have to... No, Josh, you'd be Nixon.
Yep, Josh would be Richard Nixon.
You'd be Nixon.
Can I be Phyllis Schlafly? Can she have a cameo? We'll get Phyllis Schlafly in a cameo in the middle.
All right, hey, go wild with that one. What's
I
our
will.
Pendragon? What is it?
Nixon,
I don't even know.
I mean, the thing is, like that
So nerdy, I
article
don't
that
even know
came
the
out
name of
last week about Nixon, where he knew
Yes,
that the CIA was
Hero.
out to get him, and he decided to jump on the sword anyway because
Yep.
it would be too unsettling to the country in 1973 when we're going against the Soviet Union. We had, Bay of Pigs within a decade before, and then
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
close to nuclear countdown in 73 that people don't realize. And so he jumped on the sword rather than put the Republic through that.
Do you have like a great biography of Nixon? Because I just don't. I need to read about him. I just don't know. But like, I don't want to read one that's just all vanilla, like Rhino account.
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Josh has to go digging through
Also,
his library.
so that reminds me a little bit. So Nixon falling on the sword because it would have been too destabilizing for the country in the fight against the Soviets. The copium 4D chess take on Trump and the Epstein files right now is that he released it in this way to whip up public sentiment to get people angry enough to want people in cuffs, so that at the last second he can turn around and put everyone in handcuffs. But then I was thinking about the challenge of that would be the destabilization element. Like, would you have to bring back the army to the coast or something like that? Because we would be very vulnerable if we did something like if we literally locked up politicians who are involved.
Trump he does have a hanging promise, like promises made, promises not kept. He promised Hillary Clinton on the debate stage
Very true.
that she would be in handcuffs. And
Very
I don't
true.
think he's
You'd be in
forgotten that.
jail.
That's
It'd be like Obama
jail.
in cuffs. It'd be Hillary in cuffs. It would be.
I
a
love
lot of
people destabilizing though, like him threatening when anytime Trump threatens someone, put them like the seditious senators like Mark Kelly,
Yeah.
put them in jail. People like that's absolutely unheard of.
Stabilizing.
About that. Like you arrested him. You have a mugshot of him, of a former president, and you're gonna tell me about norms. Okay.
So we'll see if the 4D Chessers are right, but I doubt it, unfortunately. Okay, Erica, this is your good news, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, this is actually, I moved it down. I want to take this opportunity to ask everyone to pray for Ben Sass. He, of course, is a former senator, former head of the University of Florida, just all around wholesome guy, senator. And of course, he was diagnosed, made the rounds last December. He announced he'd been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He was given 90 days to live. He entered a clinical trial, which has prolonged his life, but he's on his last lap. Like, the bell has rung. This is the final lap, and he's been going around the podcast circuit. He had a great full-length interview over at the Hoover Institute. I'd recommend with
Peter Robinson.
Yeah, Peter Robinson. That is a great watch. But this was another podcast he went on, a little shorter clip here. But he's using his final days to just highlight the saving power of God. And this was so moving to me. And I hope it inspires everyone to pray for him, for his soul, and for his family. So
only 7 weeks into this, since my, kind of dated death sentence, but I knew Tim Keller relatively well and talked with him a handful of times as he was dying, ironically, of pancreatic cancer as well. And one of the weird lines Tim would use is he said, I hate this, but I would never want to go back to the prayer life I had before pancreatic cancer, which I thought sounded pretty weird. And then I went through some pretty heavy stuff in the couple of weeks right before I was diagnosed, where we don't need to get into any of these details, but I was in a lot of pain because I have a bunch of tumors that have grown in and around my spinal column. And so I had some tough pain that was hard to make sense of. And it definitely shattered idols really fast. Lots of dumb stuff that I cared too much about and I was too self-reliant about seemed really pointless. This is before I had a terminal diagnosis. I just didn't like anything. Nothing. I was having to shower 5 or 6 times a night for at least 15 or 20 minutes, as hot as I could get the water going, to spray in the center of my spinal cord to kind of release this cramping that would shoot out of my spine into the front of my abdomen. Didn't know I had pancreatic cancer, but I heard Tim's words in my head a bunch of times that he wouldn't want to go back to his prayer life before that. And I felt then, what a blessing that I'm saying, Lord, come quickly. Maranatha, thank you for all of the different things that I used to cling to that right now seem really, really trivial, because they're actually really trivial. And they could be important ways to love your neighbor, but if you make him an idol, it's not a mixed good. It was an unadulterated bad. And so I think in my handful of weeks before diagnosis and 7 weeks since, one of the things that's come clear to me that I tell my kids a lot is, man, I wish I'd taken the Lord's Day more seriously, more of my life, because it's a really good antidote to all those idolatries. That God smashing idols for us is a blessing. And having a death sentence is a really good way. It's the old gallows humor. Nothing focuses the mind like an impending hanging. Knowing that you're not going to live very long, it's tough because things are weird. Like, I want to coach my kids on things, but some of them are advice I want to give them about something I want them to do 18 months from now, and I'm not going to really be around to give advice during that moment 18 months from now. So this is not the way it's supposed to be, but there's a real side benefit to not being deluded into thinking, boy, I'm going to build a really dang good building. Like, I'm an architect and I'm going to build some structure, and 36 months from now, we're going to look at this tower that I built. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is amazing. And I think that's a good Lenten Friday reminder. Someone pointed out in the chat, he's not Mormon, just a correction there, cigar mode. He's actually, he's belonged to the Reformed Presbyterian Church. So very Bible believing Catholic, not Catholic, but Christians. And yeah, pray for him.
He was raised Lutheran Church Missouri Synod.
Yeah. So very conservative practice.
And his wife is Reformed, like Calvinist tradition. Yeah.
Well, and hey, look, I mean, there are a lot of things in his political career I really loved, and some I really disagreed with him on. And, you know, he was at the University of Florida. I thought he was doing such a good job there. Then he quit when his wife got sick, and then now he's in a terminal condition. And I agree with Erica. Watch these interviews.
Yeah.
The way he talks about how much God loves us and redeems us, this traitorous member of a treasonous race that we are, the sons of Adam. It's beautiful just to hear him expound on. It's amazing stuff.
Yeah. We really don't see enough death. I'll let that one simmer. But there's a lot of,
well, if you participate enough in the life of the community, you can see more of it,
Right. No, but I mean, one of the blessings of modernity, I guess, is that we live longer lives. But then one of the cons to that is we are so desensitized from death in really any form. We don't even kill our own animals anymore. Like there's just no concept of, well, yeah, speak for myself. I don't, but most people would, and, it really does. It has this soft change on your perception of life and death. It makes you kind of like soft, like there's no like stakes to it, And so it's always interesting when you see someone really grappling with those stakes because it's so rare. This isn't like, I don't know Ben Sass, like he's not my, family member or neighbor or whatever, but even like a lot of my family members, I'm really blessed. Like a lot of them live like long lives. So that's why I feel like it always is striking when you see someone publicly talk like that, because I imagine that would just be more commonplace. Even if you go back to read like recent history, like, I've been reading a lot about like George Washington, like everyone died around him all the time. So maybe you just think a little bit different of things like the American Revolution, of like people are dying from diseases. Like his brother died from a disease. Martha's husband died from a disease before they got married. They had children die. Their daughter died of epilepsy. Like he probably thought a lot differently about America and the stakes and going to war when like death was just so normal. Now it's like everyone's kind of scared to do anything.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have Celine throw up in the chat there too. There was an amazing article in First Things, the last issue, the February issue, it's called Cancer and the Cure of Souls. And it's by a priest, Father Charles Murray Rooney, and his experience as a Catholic priest on the cancer ward in New York City. And I think what Ben Sass's reflections and what a grace that he's processing all this publicly in a way, like you were saying, Tom. I think a lot of us don't, because of our softer way of living now, we're very padded from a lot of these hard things, that the grace of a terminal diagnosis and knowing that there is an end and putting things right and in perspective and sorting through them and being called closer to God through that suffering. Really beautiful. But if you want a Catholic perspective on it, this article from Father Charles is also really, really moving account of that and how it works.
And someone said, oh, it's sad that you need a death sentence to know this. The reality is we all have a death sentence.
We're all on a death sentence.
No matter what Elon Musk or Peter Taylor, whatever the transhumanists are saying, we are all going to die one day. Everyone has a death sentence.
Of course, to have these kind of epiphanies, is wonderful if you can come to these epiphanies without getting a terminal diagnosis like this, where you have literally months or even weeks to live. That's true. I agree with that. But the real question is, here is somebody who has that and decided to use it as a moment to evangelize the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that's good.
Okay, two things that get looped together: Epstein and aliens. Donald J. Trump. Here's the truth. Based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. God bless America. So this suggests to me we are going to be invading Iran tomorrow.
Yeah. Epstein, aliens.
And I hate to say that, I was talking about this morning. Freaking, what's his name? The British Seth Oliver made a joke. Is like, we are one Epstein dump away from us getting real information on aliens. And I'm like,
John
dang
Oliver.
it, that's actually funny, John.
Yep.
I'm kind of mad. I'm like, that was actually funny. Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I wonder what could have possibly sparked this disclosure on alien life. maybe he sincerely got interested. Maybe someone on Fox News, when he watched that night, said it's actually, guys, it's time we get to know about the aliens, or more likely, we are about to engage in some serious kinetic military action in Iran.
Maybe
we need this as a distraction. In other words, is what you're saying.
Yes, yeah, we need a shiny thing over here. Or maybe former President Barack Obama, on a podcast last week, confirmed to the reporter that aliens are real, and I quote, "I just haven't seen them. They're not in Area 51."
He walked it back though. Did you see he walked it back?
Yes, and
he like said, no, I was kidding about that on Twitter. I was like, all right, buddy.
It was ironical. Yeah, whatever.
You know what is funny about it though? I'm actually
Trump's
not
jumping on it.
I'm not that interested. Aliens to me are kind of Josh's Epstein files. I'm not that interested in aliens. I don't know why I have not been able to get on board with it.
I just can't get that interested.
I'm not interested in the aliens either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you're at least
we all
consistent.
agree.
You're consistent, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, you know why?
Really been an alien guy.
I mean, again, if you ever think about like the distances that you would need to travel, I mean, it's going to take us like, what is it, 2.5 years just to reach Mars? You know, the sheer amount of energy and the speed you have to go to get there. Like, if we ever try to go to like, you know, Neptune or something like that, it would take forever. Like,